Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to World Dairy Expo. I'm Lisa Benke from AgSource Cooperative Services in Verona, Wisconsin. It's our pleasure to have you be our guest today at this virtual farm tour. It's a pleasure not to have to load you on a bus and drive you 4 hours north of here to visit with the Heinz and Rugesegers at their Maple Ridge Dairy LLC farm. Beautiful, beautiful operation. I think we've done a good job of capturing it on film, so our presenter today, Gary, can walk you through it. But AgSource Cooperative Services tests and processes DHI records for more than 4,000 dairy herds. And you might ask yourself, how did we single out Maple Ridge Dairy to be a presenter today? And let me tell you, it was an easy task. No matter what measuring stick we used, these folks sorted themselves to the top. They do a phenomenal job managing cows. They have a transition cow index. That's something that Gary will tell you about a little bit later. That is phenomenal. They managed to transition their cows from that dry period to the milking herd flawlessly, seamlessly, and very successfully. And they have achieved a 30,000 plus herd average. It's not just a blip on the map with these folks. They do it consistently. They've done it for over a decade in their dairy operation. And I just can't say enough about them. When you walk into the parlor, there's a hallway that takes you down to the break room, and that hallway has plaque upon plaque upon plaque, indicating that these folks have been rewarded for excellence in dairy milk production. And vying for space on that wall is as many plaques that are awarding them for quality milk production. They produce clean milk. You'll see in the introduction to this that you've seen printed, these folks maintain a 30,000 pound herd average and an SCC in the neighborhood of 115,000. So it's a marvelous job they do. And I have to tell you, I think when these folks get out of bed in the morning, they take a look at what's right at Maple Ridge Dairy and what they do best, and they think about how they can make it better every single day, because believe me, they're constantly climbing. And now you've heard enough from me. I want to turn the rest of this half hour over to Mr. Gary Rugeseger. Gary shares responsibility of managing the farm with several others, and he'll be introducing them to you shortly. But ladies and gentlemen, Maple Ridge Dairy.
Thank you, Lisa. I'd like to first take this opportunity to introduce Phil and Lou Hine. If you want to stand up, turn around. That's my mother and father-in-law who farm with us. And my partner, Ken Hine. And my brother-in-law, Tim Hine. So here on the right-hand side, you see us over there on the left-hand side. We have John, our herdsman, and Matt Flink, our assistant herdsperson. So they do a phenomenal job for us on the dairy, and without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we have a series of photos here just illustrating the growth that we've taken over the years. In this farm photo, about the 1960s, milking about 100 cows. You can see the car down there. That's probably a 1950 car. And then during the years, this is probably taken in the 1990s, we've expanded up to about 300 cows and farming about 500 acres. And then this photo is our current dairy, where we've recently, over the years, expanded up to 1,000 cows and farm about 2,300 acres over the years. So it's some of the old dairy, and then the newer dairy was built up away from that location. Kind of nestled into the woods there. It really helps out in the wintertime when you get cold weather and those north breezes come through. Am I talking loud enough, or? Okay, can you hear me? This is Mario. He's feeding a total mixed ration for us. We feed the dairy herd twice a day with a total mixed ration. And you can see that the cows really like it. Well, right here. Yeah, I want to stop here. This is something that we've added to our feed discharge mixer here. It's a magnet system, a more stronger magnet system. And we've added that, just kind of run it a little more. In this pail here, you'll see the amount of metal that Mario has collected in a week's time. Right there. That is a tremendous amount of metal. So that's something that we installed about 2 years ago, I think, and we feel has really helped us in preventing cows from hardware disease. We use sand for bedding. That's a Cadillac bedding, and you can see the cows are quite comfortable here. It's kind of like going to the beach, you know. When you go to the beach and you lay on the sand, it's very comfortable. And what we've adapted to the this truck here, we've modified it so that we use it to bed with sand. And that's helped us a lot over the years so that we can get a nice even spreading of sand for the cows there. And then you can see that the cows are quite comfortable after we bedded with the sand. They're all laying down, and that's really what you want when you milk cows. You want them eating and you want them resting. Here we're down at the feed center. Mario's grinding the corn silage face with a silage facer. And we do that because that provides us a nice straight face so that you can have fresh feed pretty much day in and day out. We pack the feed so thoroughly into that bunker, it's very difficult to get out. And that's what this would illustrate here. We have Justin pushing up second crop haylage. And it's very important that you pack that haylage, whether it be haylage or corn silage, so that you get all the air out of the feed, so you get good fermentation. Here we have Mario mixing a load of feed. He's adding some cottonseed into the mixer, and he does a very good job at adding the exact amount of feed ingredient that you want into that mixer. Then here's Mario discharging that feed into the feed manger. Here we have our milk pasteurizer. If you want to just maybe stop here a little bit. We pasteurize the milk that we do not market. It goes through flash pasteurizer, which is about 30 seconds at 163 degrees. Okay, and it's really been very beneficial for us. Since we've started doing that, there's something in milk that just seems to be there versus milk replacer, that cows just come out healthier, and we have less issues with health problems when we use that pasteurized milk. Otherwise, we would have just discarded it like we did before we had the pasteurizer. Here we have our baby calves in calf hutches, and you can see that we're feeding the calves right now. And then this is the transition calf barn. After we wean our baby calves, we take them over to this transition calf barn, which consists of about 12 pens. And John, our herdsperson, is running out some calf pellets for the calves here. And it's very important to have to have less stress when you're moving the calves from the calf hutches to the transition calf barn. That's really important to maintain the health of the calf, and then we try to ensure that. This kind of gives you a cross-sectional view of that calf barn, and it's very important to keep them dry and bedded on a regular basis, and to keep the manure removed on a daily basis also. And we hand feed some baled hay here to the calves here, and you can see that they really enjoy that. So this, if you want to just kind of stop there, Ron. This next set of film, if you want to call it, we're going to just look at our employees. I guess what I want to say here is that one of the keys to our success at Maple Ridge Dairy has been our employees. Having good employees that have a passion for what they do on the farm, and also your people that provide you the services. You know, it may be a foot trimmer, it may be your nutritionist, but having good people that provide service and people that are passionate about their jobs. Okay. Now here we're in the milk center. Eli, he's pre-dipping the cows. We use an iodine-based T-dip. And then he's going to come back, and then he's going to take a few squirts of milk out of each quarter to kind of check for mastitis, and then to get rid of that milk that maybe, it's not mine, right? No. So he's going to check each cow, and then after that he would wipe them dry and then attach the unit. And then after that, after they're done milking, Eli would put on a post-dip. And we use a barrier post-dip that's supposed to kind of provide a film over the teat end so that you have a barrier so that bacteria cannot enter into there. We focus a lot on producing quality milk that is less than 150 in somatic cell counts, milk that is around 3.7% butterfat, and milk that has protein in it, 3 plus for protein in the milk. Here we have Matt. He's pushing up the feed, at the feed manger. And that's very important that you do that on a regular basis. And we do that about 15 times a day. Every time you push up that feed, you encourage that cow to come back to the bunk and eat again. Here we have Rodrigo. He's scraping the manure into our trench here. We have a trench that gravity flows into our manure system there. And we do that after each milking, during each milking. So we do that 3 times a day. And we like the gravity flow system. We also use Genex to help us breed our cows. They do an excellent job. They're experts at what they do. And that's what we look for. We look for good services. We look for good employees, people that do the best in their job. And as you can see, he's very happy in what he's doing. Here we have Francisco going back out, and he's bottle feeding one of the newborn calves. That one's kind of getting anxious and wants to get out and get fed too. But we'll feed that baby calf for about 3 or 4 feedings. And then we'll pail train them and then teach them how to drink out of a pail after about 3 or 4 feedings. And then we have Tom. He's here loading some calf hutches. It's very important that we feel that after each calf has left a hutch that we power wash it with soap, and then we sanitize it. We do that after each hutch is moved. And then we'll take and remove that bedding that's remaining there, and we'll come and lay down another couple inches of new gravel so that you have a clean surface for that calf hutch to be put on. And Matt here, he's checking cow temperatures in the fresh cow pen. That's we'll talk more about that, but that's just to show you that what he's doing there, and that's very important in monitoring fresh cow health. And then we have Bob, our milk caller, who's very important also, who's just getting ready to load some milk onto the milk truck. So here we have Ken and Andy Johnson. They're working on a leachate collection system for our bunker silo area. He's one of our consultants. We take a lot of time in selecting and working with our consultants because we want the best consultant that we can work with. These consultants are experts in their areas. They go to meetings. They're updated on whatever their area is. Just for example, I'm a dairy cattle nutritionist by training, but I'm not the best in what I do. I'd like to do it and I enjoy it. But we have Jim Barmore, who's our dairy cattle nutritionist, and that's what he does. He gets out on dairies on a regular basis, goes to a lot of different dairies during the week, and that gives us a set of fresh eyes on the dairy. He'll come on the dairy and he'll see things that we're not able to see because we're working in the middle of that. And it's just difficult for us to kind of maybe see this. Maybe the length of cut of the ration wasn't quite the way we wanted it. That's something Jim would pick up if we didn't on the dairy. You know, we try to do that, but it's not always easy for us to do it because we get involved in other things. We have employees that we work with, and sometimes we get pulled away from that. So I'd like to kind of stop here. I guess what I'm going to talk about now are some areas that we feel, 5 areas that we feel contribute to the success of our dairy. And the first one is, now you can run, is to provide an environment to have happy cows and happy employees. If you can get those 2 things right, it really works well. Because you'll have higher performance from the cows, and you'll have higher performance from your employees. You'll have a reduction in turnover, less cows leaving the herd, less cows and less people, leaving your employment. And then the third one was you want to match the strengths of that employee with whatever they enjoy. What is their passion? And that's really important for us. The second point I want to stress is education and training. Just coming to World Dairy Expo, there's just so much here to see and learn. And we feel very important about trying to keep up on new technology, new ideas. We as managers need to educate and train ourselves as well as our employees. So we really emphasize that. And the third point that I wanted to talk about was using good animal genetics. In our herd, a medium-sized cow works better in our herd. They fit our parlor better. They just seem to do better, in our environment. And we also look for genetics that'll help us increase the milk protein in the milk that comes. We sell our milk to a cheese processing company, Foremost Farms, and it's made into cheese. So if we have a milk with higher protein in it, we'll have we'll make more cheese for that milk. And then the third point, I don't know if you could back. Kind of lost my train. Sorry about that. Good feet, udder, and legs. Very important. People that are around cows every day really understand the importance of a nice tight udder, good feet and legs that a cow can kind of use and travel with. Okay. And then the fourth bullet point there is planting, harvesting, and ensiling good quality forage. Forage makes up over 50% of your ration. So we have a lot of control over that. And we spend a lot of effort on trying to do and ensile a good quality product because we can do that. We can make the forage the way we want it. And then the fifth one is good fresh cow management. Having a good fresh cow management program gets the cow off to a good start. It's the key to a successful lactation. It's the things that you do before calving and the things that you do right after calving that really determine how that cow is going to do. So I want to talk a little bit about, if you want to just stop that, Ron, about fresh cow management. Here where Matt just came out of, we have the mothers in waiting, or the expectant mothers. And then every day, about every hour, someone walks that pen and they look for cows that are just showing signs of calving. And then, okay, do you want to run it now? They'll sort that animal out, and then we have 3 calving pens here that we'll see here. And they're bedded with sand and straw. Sand to provide the cushion and the comfort, and straw to kind of provide a little dry environment for them. So they'll come, and unfortunately we didn't have a cow calving when they were here that day, but it would have been nice. But we'll put those animals on there, and we don't put them in there no sooner than when they show signs of calving, because that's stress if you put them in there and they're away from their environment for a long period of time. So we really work on trying to find that cow and then get her on the bedding pack whenever we can. And we clean those bedding packs every week, 3 times a week. This shows our what we call our veterinary room. It's a room that's elevated about 6 feet up. And we have it up here for observational purposes. It's right at the end of our fresh cow area pen, where the cows that have calved, and they're in this pen, as you can see through that window. You have a good view of the cows there. And then up in this vet room, we also have it's kind of like the control center back there for John and Matt. That's where they work out of. They can see the cows. They know what's going on. They're around the cows. They have their treatments if they need to treat any cows. They have, up here is a screen from a video camera that's back on the bedding packs, so they can watch, and if they have a cow that may be having a difficulty calving, they can go back there and help that animal out. So it's really a very important room for them. And it's fairly clean that day. And I didn't even ask them to clean it. But, you can see it's well used. Just another photo of our bedding packs here. Just, emphasizing the importance of how they are and how we keep them clean. So Matt's taken cow temperatures here. I was showing my daughters this morning, and they go, "Hey, Dad, that's kind of like preventative care, in the medical field." And that's really what we're doing here. We're trying to identify cows that may come down with right in the beginning with an illness or some kind of disease, and we usually don't have that many, but we're trying to catch that. And you need to be around the cows to be able to do that on a regular basis. And some people have a very good eye for picking up on an animal. Like you can look at a cow and you can tell if she needs attention or not. Matt has that ability. He's checking temperatures. We'll check temperatures in this fresh cow pen for up to 10 days. Then after that, usually once you get them past that 10 days, that animal is healthy and she's ready to move on and she's ready to have a good lactation. And the other thing that I wanted to point out here is it's very important to have reduce stress as much as you can around calving. I know when we were initially talking about building and expanding our dairy, our financier wanted us to calve the cows down at the old facility and trailer them up to the new facility. And I said, no, if you want us to do that, we're not going to get our financing from you, because we feel that important about trying to reduce stress and keeping that animal as comfortable as you can. Here we have a shot of the feed that we feed the cows, and we hand feed some hay there to the fresh cows to kind of encourage them to come up and eat on a regular basis. But you can see that they're very hungry and they want to eat. We're going to go back to the milking parlor here. This set of photos here, or film, will show that we really work on trying to have clean udders. You can see that we have some nice clean udders there. We didn't do that especially for when they came out to shoot this. This is what we do on a regular basis. And we follow a very good milking routine. People follow the routine, and it's very important because cows like routine. They really do. And people actually like routine. Well, most people. Now, Ken, he likes to work in the fields and kind of address those issues where you don't have routines. But the other thing is proper functioning milking equipment is very important for milk quality. And we really focus on milk quality. We just feel that if you're going to make cheese from our milk, you have to have good quality milk. And we have a milkers meeting, that's what we call it, a milkers meeting, about once a month, where everybody kind of gets together at the end of the day and we'll discuss things. If they have an issue that they want to bring up, they can bring it up at that time. If we have some issues that we need to talk to them about, then we can do it at that time also. Okay, here John and I are talking about a few cows. Here we're testing today on right there. And we feel that record keeping is very important in monitoring your herd so that you know how the herd is performing. Here you'll see that we sample each cow. We do 900 and some cows in a morning's milking. And we take a sample of milk, and we're going to analyze that milk for somatic cell counts, protein, and for butter fat. And we also, every now and then, we'll monitor it for Johne's disease, which is something that we kind of monitor and make sure that we keep that at bay. Computers have really revolutionized the DHIA record-keeping system. I used to work as a DHIA field supervisor part-time when I was going to college. It's been a few years, probably. I won't talk about when that was, but I really strongly believe and have a passion that you need to know what your cows are doing. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to get the information that we can use, because we have computers now that we use for many things. And they have the ability to give us records in many different ways. They can give you summaries of cows that may have high somatic cell counts, cows that may be problem breeders. So, the information is there. You just need to figure out how to use it. You want to maybe just... And he's loading the milk samples here. Now here's a little historical thing that these are some, if you want to just see the dates there, these are from 1928 to 1929. These are some Marathon County Record Association sheets that Phil had brought out for us to kind of look at. And you can see that they named their cows back then, Bessie and Molly. But that just, I guess the point I want to emphasize here is where we were back in the 1930s and even before that to today, that the importance of records. And Phil and his dad, well, I don't think Phil was really milking cows at that time, but his dad was Philip. He realized the importance of farm records and how useful they are in managing your dairy. Here we have myself with Bob and Phil, and we're interpreting some reports that we have from DHIA. I look at and analyze, me as a manager, I look at the herd summaries, or you can also break down and look at individual cows. So it all depends on what you're trying to look for. But for me, I kind of look for trends, and it's very easy when you have records to work from. You can look at trends. And then when you see something not going quite the way you want it, you can take out and pick out more specific information for that. And that's real important. Okay, here we have the herd summary of one of our DHIA sheets. And our rolling herd average, as Lisa had mentioned, is a little over 30,000. And we work on that on a daily basis. That's quite important to us. We like to get production out of the herd. And to do that, you need good animals and good employees. The herd summary kind of gives you direction in regards to where production is. Where is it going? Because it's a rolling herd average. And it also will help you with your somatic cell count and your milk protein and your milk fat. The other report that I like to look at is the fresh cow summary. The transition cow index on the left-hand side. And then that one I don't look quite as much at, is the transition cow index measurement with 30-day. What that is it's a measurement of how the cow is transitioning into that lactation. And if you can monitor that, and if you kind of see a slow increase in the trend, that's what you want. The higher index you have, the better the cows are transitioning. And if you see a dip down, then you know something's not quite right where you want it. So you need to kind of focus on certain areas, try to pinpoint where you may be having a problem. Okay. The other, okay. Here's our fresh cow summary, and there's a graph here on the right-hand side, and then a report on the left-hand side. And I use both of those. This one, the cows leaving in the herd less than 60 days, is an indication of your transition cow program. You know, if cows are leaving the herd within the first 60 days, they're not doing well, so something isn't quite working. I think if we could go back. There, this is the dry cow and the heifer udder infection summary report. Heifers infected at first calf. If you have a higher percentage of that, where heifers are infected, that means you're having some problems with your heifer, maybe your heifer grower. You don't always want to blame your heifer grower for everything, but you may want to find out what's going on there if you have more heifers infected during that first test. The other two areas here are cows with the new infections during dry period. You know, how is your dry cow facilities? Are your cows picking up infections during that dry period? They sure shouldn't be. But if they are, then you need to kind of focus on that. And then your dry cow cures. You know, you have a cow that ended her lactation with a little higher somatic cell count. Is that somatic cell count going down during the dry cow period? You would hope it would. So here we're back with Bob and talking about some reports. And I guess as I mentioned before, I like to look at herd trends. You know, those are very important because you can monitor what's going on. You can't see herd trends on a daily basis. We're discussing here, I remember that day, the mature equivalent of our heifers. We found that they weren't quite doing what we thought they should be doing. And they were actually kind of coming down a little bit. And actually your mature equivalent per heifer should be going up because those are the better genetic, those are the more recent animals that you brought into the herd. And those animals should actually be milking better than the mature cows. And so that, you know, that's some information that you can pick up on your reports. Okay, here we have Eli milking again. I guess I just kind of wanted to summarize that the milking is a very important part of what you do on a dairy. I think everybody realizes that, but we really take the effort and put in the time to really make sure that we're doing a good job milking, which, you know, Eli is doing right here for us. And it is your control center. And then the other important part of maintaining high production is getting good feed intakes, having your cows eating a lot of feed so that they can produce that milk that you want. And here Mario's feeding the cows again for the second time. So. And then the cows themselves, the cows, you have to keep them happy. And we really... Go ahead. So we'd like to appreciate that. This was a tour, so we kind of took you through our dairy, and we'd like to thank AgSource Cooperative Services for providing the video for us, and we'd also like to thank you for attending. So at this time, I'd like to entertain any questions.
What's the average age of your cows in your herd, and are you milking 2 or 3 times a day?
The average age in our herd is a good question. 3.5 is what I was going to say. Mm-hmm. And we are milking 3 times a day, yes. Did everybody hear that question? I'm supposed to repeat them if you can't, okay?
What kind of product do you use to drench your cow?
For what do we drench them with?
After calving, what kind of product do you use?
Okay, the question is, what kind of product do we use for drenching a cow after they calve? It's a calcium propylene glycol drench. I couldn't tell you the product name, but that's what we use. And we use it on every animal that freshens. We just see that we get the beneficial results from doing that. Mm-hmm.
Your dry cow ration, is that same as an open bird?
The dry cow ration? No, it's quite a bit different. It's a ration that has no grain in it. And it's fed during that time period so that the rumen can kind of rest and kind of get ready for the next lactation. So it's a high fiber diet, usually dry hay, some chopped straw, haylage, and lower quality, lower in, higher in fiber. So does that answer your question? Okay, good. So Jim, you got to ask a question. No, I'm just kidding.
In the freestyle barn, you have 2 gates way up in the air.
Yeah.
Purpose, or are they
Well, okay, that's an interesting story. I'm sorry. It was about 2 years ago, we used those gates. What would happen is in the middle of summer, the cows would bunch in the middle of the barn, right where those gates are. So we installed those gates. We'd put them down after we got them milked. We'd put half the cows on one side and half the cows on the other side so that they wouldn't bunch. I mean, if you ever drive by a pasture where you have a group of animals out there, where are they? They're all bunched together. So about 2 years ago, we got a little more aggressive in our fly spraying program. And someone had mentioned, and I believe them, is that the flies were biting them in the belly. And so they have a kind of a group mentality to kind of get together, and hopefully that fly, the cow was thinking, would bite the next cow, not me. And since we started spraying a little more and doing a better job, we're having a lot less bunching of cows. But that was a problem that we dealt with for quite a number of years. And that was the purpose of those gates.
That was a counterweighted gate, wasn't it?
Right. So you could just pull it down and you had to chain it. But boy, they would bend them up because they would even bunch on both sides of those gates. It's just one of those things. But those are the little things that we kind of try to work on and try to, make work and do a good job for us because, sometimes you just kind of scratch your head. You got to kind of think like a cow some days, so that really helps. Ken?
Could you explain to them what we did to step up our better fly control?
Do you want to kind of just stand up?
A couple of years ago, we visited Soaring Eagle Dairy, and they would have a orchard sprayer on the back of a little tractor, and they would go around all the barns and in the barns and spray from the outside in and on the inside, and they had like no flies on their dairy, and then they had showed us that. So when we got back home, we ordered one of those sprayers, and we'll spray like Mondays and Fridays, I think it was, all the barns and past the calf hutches, wherever there's flies we want to be, and that's how we eliminated more flies. So if anybody has outside lots or anything like that, we just got all kinds of flies just by spraying just different products on those flies a couple times a week. That's how we combat it. A better fly control. Even with what we were doing, we were just spraying the flies down the return lane I think every other day or 3 days a week. But then just stepping this up helps even better.
If you've been on the farm, you know flies can be a problem. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the lovely young couple sitting right here.
Okay, for Phil and Lou?
Yeah. What would you say to younger couples who want to start a dairy? What would be the best way to start this for somebody who's never done it before, who's interested in doing it, and loves cows? Was it your passion?
Well, I was almost, you might say, born into it. And my father never discouraged me. He never once said a word of discouragement about farming. And the day I told him I wasn't sure I wanted to be a farmer because you do the same thing every day, he looked me in the eye and he said, "What do you think people in a factory do? The same thing every day." Well, that cured me of that thought. and the willingness to work with Dad. And of course, Dad's got to work with the son or the daughter and the in-laws. And I don't know how to say it, but I'll say it this way. When Gary and Kenny were teaming up, I say with me, but I was asked what I was going to do with my equity in the farm. And I said, well, I'm going to leave it there. Because they needed that equity so that when they got done borrowing the money they needed to build that facility, which was built in 1998, they would still they'd have 40% equity, which was crucially important. So I kind of feel good about the willingness to work with my son and son-in-law and the other partners in the farm operation to see to it that that could work. And then I want to say something about my wife. You heard Gary talk about those farm meetings we have, milkers meetings every month. Who do you think cooks the food? Grandma. And now she's got a new title. She's a great grandma. And I'm a great grandpa. Thanks.
And I've come to appreciate Lou's job because she was gone this last week to Colorado and we were corn chopping, and her job was always to kind of prepare the food for the chopping crew. Well, I got stuck with that. So I really appreciate what she does because she enjoys cooking, but I was there and I had to take care of it, and I did okay.
I heard they're glad I'm back.
Right. I guess I didn't do okay.
I got a comment on your question. I would encourage, if somebody really has a passion to farm today, that with all these new innovative dairies, that I would hook up with one of these new innovative dairies and do what you want to do on that dairy. If you want to be a feed manager or you want to be a cow manager, you can be exactly that instead of trying to wear all the different hats and maybe not be as good at other tasks that you have to do. If you're a large enough dairy, you can be really good at one area and really excel in it. And so that if you get a whole dairy, like Gary said, match your employees to the position that they enjoy doing, and then you'll have every position being covered by somebody who really has a passion for that area. So I think with these new dairies, that's where a person should go if he really wants a dairy. And the new dairies are so successful, they can make a really good living doing that, and everybody enjoys working together there. That would be my comment.
Yes.
You mentioned you thought your heifers weren't performing and, not reaching mature equivalent or increasing. Have you resolved that or identified any areas that need improvement there?
We're working on that. The question was, what were my thoughts on the mature equivalent on the heifers, and are we working on that? And we are. We're talking to our heifer growers and just trying to find out where that potential problem is. We've had a little spike in the number of heifers calving with mastitis, which many times kind of goes back to that time period. So they have challenges just like us, but we need to know what they are and address them in a timely manner so that they don't keep continuing on that way. But yeah, we're definitely working on that.
How do you manage the heifer growers operation since it's their business? I mean, it's them, not you, right?
Yes. I guess the question is, how do you manage your heifer grower since it's their business and not yours? And the response to that is we work with them on providing us with information, and sometimes we need to have a face-to-face meeting with them, but we do give them what we would like out of our heifers for standards. So we provide that information to them, when they should be bred, how many times they should be bred, and things of that nature. So if we kind of see things not going quite, and we've had that happen over the years, of course, but you need to be watching your records, and that's pretty important, because eventually it'll show up, but you want to kind of address the problem before it gets too far, into the system. But yeah, that can be kind of dicey sometimes. We've had some interesting conversations.
I'll bet you have. One more question then, since that is a real key to your operation, because when the cow calves, that's when your production starts. Did you build any incentives, or have you thought about incentives for these guys based on the records of their animals that you put into production? Can you incentivize what they do?
Ken, any comment on that? I guess that's a possibility.
I've been selling for too many years.
It doesn't hurt to get incentives, and just sometimes they get really complicated. That's what we always talked about. We were doing incentives for somatic cell for a while, and then it turned out that some of the people were getting paid for it, but it was really our assistant herdsman who was really responsible for what was happening. So then it was kind of it wasn't going to the right people. So incentives can be really tricky, and if your passion is to encourage people with incentives, it probably can work. At our dairy, I always say it's respect. People come in on time at our dairy because they just know that we're not going to put up with it. Just laying the ground rules right from the get-go, and they know that, and they'll respect that then. And so that's been a key to our dairy.
Okay, sir?
Yes, I'm originally from Chicago,
Uh-huh.
and I have no clue what y'all talking about.
Okay.
And yet, I appreciate it because my friend here, Mike Blinion, had took me under the wing to take me around these exhibits
Uh-huh.
to learn something that has opened my eyes greatly. And I've been telling my kids, I'm trying to get them down here next year
Okay.
so they can go through this.
Right.
And you all are sharing this information with one another. So my question is, have in our schools to let people know what you all are doing, because I'll never be able to take in all y'all got 30, 40, 50 years ahead of me.
Right.
And I'm still trying to learn. I'm just learning that there's more than one cow name. And my grandkids came here about a year ago, and they were just coming down the road, and they seen a cow, and all of them were saying they had never seen them. They
Yeah.
said, ooh, look.
Right.
So they don't appreciate this.
Right.
And these are city kids.
Right.
And if there's some way all of you all could think about a way to get this to our kids
Right.
in the city and let them know you
Uh-huh.
all are doing something that helps us all appreciate what we're getting fed.
Right.
And how you're feeding and how you take care of it to make it safe all
Right.
over. There's so many things, intricate things you all do.
Right.
And it needs to be shared. And you all are in this room, no doubt, and you all could share it with many of the people in this
Right.
country especially.
Right.
And help them appreciate what you all do.
We appreciate that comment. Very important. We do some of that in Stratford. We haven't done it in a couple of years, but we used to have the, can't remember which grade, third and fourth grade come out to the dairy. But a lot of these kids grew up around dairy, so they kind of understand it, but that's getting even to be less and less. And then we also have a picnic that we host every summer, and we try to invite people from Marshfield, which is a big city by our standards of about 15,000, but try to get some of those individuals out, friends and stuff, to kind of see the dairy and kind of appreciate it, kind of like what you're saying. Phil wants to make a comment.
Yes, I would like to extend an invitation to you to come up, visit our farm, and you pick up what you see and observe, and you can help us tell our story. And that would be very important. We can't get all over, but you living in Chicago and the interest that you have in this, you could be a good ambassador for Wisconsin dairy agriculture.
Yes.
Question, but I'll add a comment now after the last question was great. There is a program in this country called Ag in the Classroom that is alive and well through Farm Bureau. And I'm sitting next to a gal who makes a living out of teaching in the Chicago area about Ag in the Classroom.
Oh.
And so it needs a lot of publicity, but there are people who are serious about it. Hopefully it'll grow.
Right.
It seems like you have had extra courses in understanding cow psychology in your whole treatment of this. And I'm wondering how you pick up on that and have that sixth sense about what is kind of maybe one of those keys that get lost in these big dairies sometimes.
Well, I think it's kind of something you're born with. It's like a natural athlete. I mean, I guess I always thought, I have that ability to look at a cow and kind of understand a cow. You put me on a tractor and I may end up in the next 40, but you keep me in the barn. So it's just some people have a better sense than others, and it's just kind of natural. It's either you kind of have it. You can kind of teach some of it, but there's cow training that you can have, like for handling cows. That's very important on a large dairy, that cows are handled properly. And they have videos out there, even up in our Stratford area. I think it was last year at Equity they had a cow handling lesson that they put on one day. So there's things out there. Cows are animals that you can kind of understand, and there is a little psychology to it, but you kind of have to kind of love the cow to be able to do that, and kind of see into them. Does that kind of answer your question?
So you didn't learn it in college?
No. No, not at all.
One more comment. I'm probably the only person here that shares the county with you. I grew up in Marathon County. I would like to know if you have a map that can pinpoint where you're located in our fair state, and how people can find you, or if you have an address or a highway or something, because I think you inspire some people to come up and say, hey.
Well, you're more than welcome. I guess if people are interested when we get done, feel free to come up and we'll give you more information, because you're more than welcome to come see our dairy. Appreciate it.
And Gary, I'm sorry to cut this off because you all have loads of questions, I'm sure, but I wanted to thank each of you for joining us this afternoon. AgSource is real pleased to host this virtual farm tour. Gary, marvelous job. I wanted to thank you personally and the Hine family too. Thank you for letting us see inside what goes on at Maple Ridge Dairy. And I guess I'd like to add too, you had asked about Gary understanding the psychology of cows. I think Gary may be to cows what Lou is to the silage crew. He's got a master's in dairy cattle nutrition, understands how to feed cows, and he's applied it well. They've all applied, as they made mention of in the presentation. Everybody does what they're passionate about, what they're very good at, and the result is a marvelous herd average, a set of cows that have beautiful feet and legs and udders, and it's successful, and it's a happy environment. Didn't encounter a person the day that we videotaped that didn't truly love what they do every day of the year. It was a pleasure to meet each of you. I'm glad all of you had an opportunity to do so too. If you have additional questions, I'm sure Ken and the Hine family will remain here for a few more minutes. And I also wanted to introduce Ron Curran. Ron, if you could stand, Ron's with AgSource as well. If you had questions about the reports and the products that AgSource provides, we'd be happy to address those too. But again, thank you for joining us today for this virtual farm tour, and we wish you well as you continue touring World Dairy Expo 2011. Thank you.